welcome to B3u. I am your host, Bree Charles, and I am so excited. Yet another amazing person, my sister in arms, Miss Manny Rodriguez. I
Hi.
yeah.
Hello.
Hey.
Yes, how are you? I'm
Yeah, it's
so
so good.
glad you're doing this. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited. Look, you were one I was wondering. I was like, oh my goodness, I wonder if she's going to be able to come on. So I'm so excited. So I want to get right to it because I know our viewers are going to want to hear this. So this is Miss Manny. She is a mother of two. She is a businesswoman who owns Purple Credit Repair.
Correct?
Perfect Crooked does look, fix your credit. I tell you the truth because I'm a living witness. So, look, Manny, I'm going to let you explain a little bit to the audience. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. We already know you're a veteran. Tell us some stuff.
Well, like Bridget said, I am a mother of two. One is in heaven and one is here. I'm a grandmother of a 2-year-old who will soon be 3 in July. I, in my spare time, do credit repair. And initially, it started off with me in the middle of the night looking at my own credit. Then I started, working on some things and saw just how easy it was, and decided to begin an LLC to be able to support, other people who want, better credit. You know what I mean? Because you
Of
need better
course.
credit for just about everything, including insurance, rent, so forth and so on. So I took on about 11 people at the start of that. Without a fee schedule or anything like that. We just kind of worked on the credit because I was learning as I was working on theirs, and working on mine, and then kind of let mine fall to the wayside for the other people that I was working on. And I actually find a joy in it. What I don't want to be is a bill for anyone. So I want it to work through a program that will work through 6 months. And then there should be some kind of improvement, significant improvement. And if they want to continue, then we continue. If not, then I'm no longer a bill for them. But yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's
Okay.
like it's a hobby.
Awesome. So you served in the military, of course. How many years
Mhm.
did you serve?
A total of 22. I did reserve time and active duty time. Mhm.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. Just tell me a little bit about, can you tell us a little bit about your story, the trauma that one of your traumas, I know as women, Black women, military women, we have a few. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about your trauma.
Okay, so the first loss that I experienced was with my dad in 2014. I had just landed in Kuwait, and as soon as I got off the plane, I got a notification that my dad was sick. Um, Fast forward a couple of years later, I went to drill sergeant school, and I think maybe 3 days into drill sergeant school, he was gone. I lost my dad to lung cancer. Actually, he had lung cancer, but it was pneumonia that laid him to rest. So that was my first experience, my first loss, and it was traumatizing because um, dang it, my dad was everything. He was everything,
So
smart,
you're a
brilliant.
daddy's girl.
Yeah, well, yes, and everyone knew it, and it was okay. So, he taught me a lot about what to expect in a man, what to expect in relationships, how people are supposed to, not just men, but how people are supposed to treat you. He was always so mellow. Um, his ingenuity was amazing. He was an engineer. He lit up our block during a blackout in New York. He lit the entire block with a car battery, his car battery, with his
Oh,
Cadillac battery, lit the entire
wow.
block. Yes, my dad he was genius. He was. Um, and so everything for me, like I didn't do any of my school shopping. He did it all for me. I didn't mind, because he just knew exactly who I was, what I wanted. Um, just an amazing man. So I lost him, and it was traumatizing because when I went to see him when he was sick, I sat out on the front stoop, and he came out on the front stoop beside me and told me not to go back to the army. And not only did I return to the army, I re-enlisted for more time in the army. It didn't hurt him, I don't think, but he wanted his daughter back home in New York with him. And there's a such thing as regret, something that is challenging for people who grieve. But working through that with my therapist, it's a good thing to feel the regret, because that means that you're feeling everything and you want to feel everything in a loss. Um, but you don't hold on to the regret. It's a part of your growth. You know what I mean? So you feel every single part of what grief gives you. But in order for you to be able to properly heal, you got to feel all the stuff that goes along, all the stages of guilt, grief. You just got
Yes.
kind of go through the whole thing. So that was the first experience that I had. And I tell you, my sister gave up everything. She was willing to just give up whatever she had going on to come and be with me. I stopped her because she was ready to hop on a plane. That was you, Bridget. I don't know if you remember.
I was thinking like, are we talking about Kiana? Oh wow, yes, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. So that was the
yeah,
first experience, and I actually didn't think I could ever go through that kind of pain again. Like there's just no, goodness, it took my dad. Oh my gosh, went back to living the best I could.
and then
And then a few years later, now let me just say, I grew up in church, Tabernacle of Joy, in Uniondale, New York. Grew up in church. I know the Lord. When I tell you,
back and forward, backwards and forward, yes, ma'am.
I know that Lord that we serve. So on New Year's Eve, and I'm okay to share about the loss of my son because that's a very hard thing, and people just don't get it. Um, and New Year's Eve, my son was supposed to be moving to Virginia. I lived here 2016 to 2018, and then left and then returned. But so in 2017, on New Year's Eve, what happened was the very first New Year's Eve, I did something the way that I did it. I was a babysitter for my grandniece, who was a couple of weeks old. Um, my sister was babysitting all the grandchildren except for the infant. My daughter was out with her boyfriend. The kids, the girls, everybody was out just having an amazing time for New Year's Eve. I had already spoken to my son earlier that night. Then again, close to midnight, he wanted to say Happy New Year. And then I got another phone call. In the meantime, I'm watching my grandniece, who's crying, 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 Brooklyn, crying, 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 crying. Then for like 2, 3 seconds, she stopped. She was silent. And for me, I felt like in that moment is when that transition happened because there was nothing that was stopping her from crying. All of a sudden, she stopped for a second. It's like, you need this quiet time. And then she continued to cry. Um, Following that, there was a phone call from my son's dad, my ex-husband. And at the moment, because they don't generally sound alike, but at the moment, he sounded exactly like my son. So when he called and the phone said, baby boy, I responded and say, son, you already said Happy New Year. What's going on? He said, it's not Eddie, it's Ed, which was odd because I don't call his dad Ed, I call him Rod. So for him to say it's Ed kind of threw me for a loop. That's a revelation just now. Like I didn't even realize that took place. Um, so I asked him why he was calling from my son's phone. He said, it is Ed. He's been shot. Um, Mind you, I still have my grandniece, baby, couple of weeks old infant in my arms. And I'm just looking in her eyes while I'm talking to him. And he's like, yeah, he's been shot. And, for me, I'm puzzled because what shot? Why? Who is she? My son? First of all, no one would want to injure or hurt my son. He was just too amazing for that. So he said that he's not breathing on his own. That's when everything else kind of went black. I don't know the details of how I got to where I got to. I just know that in that moment, my sister Bree and
So that's why I was going to go and I was going to update the audience just to know that this is my sister who we are very very close to. You if you saw her, you saw me. We just became one very close knit family. So this story I do know all too well, and a very painful one to relive. So yes, I do remember that time because I remember getting the phone call and I'm like, what are these kids talking about? And I'm like, my daughter had called me and I was like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh my God, let me try to get to Manny before anybody called her, not knowing that, Rod had already called. And I just remember in that instant, I had tunnel vision at that moment. And I knew that she had, what she called a bird. So I knew that she had her. And my thing was, get there. So I remember just getting there and saying, we got to get to South Carolina. South Carolina is like what, 5.5 hours? I think I
it
did it in
was
4. We
yeah,
were
you did it in
moving.
about 4 and an
Yeah. So,
SUV at night, which is something
yeah.
you don't often do.
It was a so unreal moment, so unreal. And
Yeah,
I do remember it all too well. So yeah, just for our viewers, this is when she says that it's me, y'all.
yeah, it's her. Speak out.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So like you said, you got there kind of like out of nowhere. The nieces were, and Tamia and her little ugly boyfriend was out in front of the house. And well, I
Uh,
take that back. He won't. I'm kidding. But or am I?
maybe a little.
All right.
You
So
know.
yeah, so we hopped in that Ford Expedition and flew all the way to South Carolina to Grand Strand, where my son was at. That was very I don't even have to say it's right there. If anybody don't realize it's just, it wasn't, I'm gonna tell you something. Losing my dad was one thing, right? I used to say, "Don't nobody love me like Kiana, my dad, and Eddie." You know, there's people that love Bridget, one of them, that love me, and I feel that, and I know it. I know it exists. I know it's real. But I hate for anybody to ever be on this earth and never have felt love. You know what I mean? And I love just as much. I love just as hard. My love might not match what other people's love, but it's mine. And losing my dad was a lot. It was overwhelming.
Right.
Losing my son took me out the game. It
So,
did.
so let me just show the audience the picture. We have for your family, your dad, your mom, your sister Kiana, Eddie, and
Mhm.
Tamia.
Correct.
Right. So we have
Okay.
lost now dad. We are now at the point where we lost your
Eddie.
son.
Mhm.
What's next?
Well, so he was gone for 2018 because it was New Year's Eve. It was official 1:17 a.m. on New Year's Day. So that's 2018. 2019, we lost Shirley, my mom, the day after my birthday. I went to see her because she had surgery. She passed away from cancer. Went to visit her to see how she was doing from the surgery that she elected to do. And she had been doing fine. I would talk to her on the phone. She was always in her good spirits. She had her wits about herself. Nothing was off. She was never outside of her mind, except for the one time she had liver, kidney disease illness. And so I said, okay, so it's my birthday. First of all, today is the 19th. I celebrate my son on the 19th of every month. And it was the 19th, my birthday, which I no longer call my birthday because it's on the 19th, which is E1999 for me. It belongs to my son. So I told mom, I'm coming down to see you, see how you doing for E1999. I talked to my daughter who also celebrates E1999 and she was in Virginia at the time and said, I'm coming down there with you then. I need to talk to Gma about something. I said, okay, well, me at the time, my husband will be down there checking on your Gma. To me, it didn't get there in time. She missed out on being able to talk to her Gma. I don't know what the conversation was about, but it's crushing because one, my daughter lost her brother. She lost a sister on her dad's side, and she lost her grandma, who she was really close with. Um, so no more November 19th for my birthday. I celebrate the whole month. My mother's birthday is May 24th. I celebrate that a second time. My birthday a second time. I used to celebrate it with my sister. We agreed that from now on, May 24th is our second birthday. We exchanged charms to celebrate. But then in 2020,
Well, so now dad is gone,
mhm,
son is
mhm,
gone.
mhm,
Now mom is gone. And this is
mhm.
all in a span of
2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 4 years,
all
right?
within 4 years. You've lost now three loved ones. So
Mhm.
now we have
Kiana. So,
Kiana and Tamia.
and Tamia,
So
yes.
let's talk about
Kiana, oh my gosh. That
Kiana.
is,
Beautiful. Look, to know Kiana is to love her. She was truly
there
amazing.
is no one
And
like
yeah,
oh my gosh, her personality is what I'm kind of trying to strive towards now in my mature years because nothing phased her. Nothing. Jealousy, no. Anger, no. Envy, no. Frustration, no.
no, she was just whatever.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing faced her. She was an avid reader. Everything was about a book. All she wanted to do was read and just mind her business. And she was wise. So every piece of advice that you would get for her from her, just you can write a check on that. It was
Yeah,
serious. She was
right.
always thoughtful, and she made everything seem so matter of fact. Like, you really don't have to worry about that
Now,
because what
I'm
difference does
sorry.
it? Mhm.
Yeah. So Kiana was sickly during her young
Kiana
childhood,
had
right?
Kiana spent her years her since shoot from the moment that she was born. She was in the what's called the pediatrician, the pediatrics ward. She stayed there. I used to leave school, high school, catch the bus to Nassau County Medical Center to spend with my sister, who knew the entire staff from baby to 5. Then she would come out, then she'd be back in there again. It's like the summer months she was sick, the winter months she was good. I always knew Kiana had a fever because I would be on the phone with her. It sounds like she's running all over the place, and all I have to do is ask, "What you doing?" If she says I'm just sitting down, I know she got a fever. And I have to remind her, take your temperature. I think you have a fever because you sound like you're running all over the place. She had rheumatoid arthritis, she had lupus, and she had kidney failure, or kidney disease. Now, she wasn't in a state where it was terminal that I had known of. First of all, Kiana tried to keep everything as private as she possibly could.
She
She
did.
she never wanted to share anything.
Mhm.
Nothing. And she wasn't in your business either. So it's like, you can't fight her because you can't say to her, I told you such and such, because she'll be like, nobody asked you that. You told me. No, I
Yeah.
didn't ask you to tell me.
Hmm.
I'm still not going to share my business. But that's just how
Hmm.
she's so freaking wise. So wise. So she was moving to Virginia. I was moving to Virginia also. Her boyfriend moved ahead of her a couple of months or whatever. She was going to spend that time with me for those couple of months while I was preparing for my move to Virginia, because we were going to get here together. Plus her niece was having her first baby. And so there was plans for that. I don't like it when you talk about making plans without them. I'm telling you right now. So I went to work, came home from work. I let the exterminator do his thing, took Kiana's laundry up to the bedroom, turned around. About halfway down the stairs, I realized Kiana was not snoring. She snores. Her back was to the door, and her Kindle that she had been reading was in her on the side beside her.
She read a lot. She read a lot.
She read a
Yeah.
lot,
Love
and
read.
she
Love reading.
and she left here having read, and I still have her Kindle. I tried to resuscitate her, bring her back. I couldn't bring her back. So that's Kiana.
So
I lost
now,
her in her
if
sleep.
for my viewers that are listening, dad, son, mom, sister,
Right.
only leaves her one and only
My
daughter.
daughter and my granddaughter. Yes,
So
that's
let me ask you this: with all of that experience of trauma within, what are we talking, 6 years now, in a 6 year time frame,
mhm.
from being in the military, then coming out the military. It was one time, mom didn't want to really, she did want to leave New York.
She
She
didn't want to
she
leave New
didn't
York.
want to leave New York because of your dad.
My dad.
Right,
She wanted to be there with him because she was never without him. They were
right.
always together,
Yeah.
side by side. So while my dad was sick, my mom was taking care of him. And, that was what she did. She got up and she took care of him because he took care of her. Um,
Now, let me ask you how your faith was in this span of 6 years. Was it ever a moment in your life where you weren't just surviving? Were you just surviving after losing that amount of people? Where was your faith at?
I would be lying if I didn't say that my faith was absolutely challenged. And each time, because every loss is different. But knowing that there is a faith that I have in the first place restores all that, brings me back. So where I felt like I was drifting and my faith was being challenged or whatever, because I know the Holy Spirit, I was able to return to who I belong to in the first place, because my losses, as huge as they've been, and they're challenging every day. Like I struggle with that every day. But as big as that is, it has no significance on God's, the scheme of everything. Like I'm just a blip on the radar. My situation and my circumstances are just a blip on the radar. Like he used my loss, my pain is used for somebody else's something. And to think about it like that, it's like, why would God allow you to do that? Why would he make you go through that? Why would, but if it's not me being challenged with that, if it's not me going through that, then who it's going to be somebody, you know what I mean? Because that's just how he works. It's going to be somebody else that goes through this very thing. And the fact that his grace carries me, I feel like I'm doing it according to how he wants me to do it. Now I fail often, you know what I mean? But when you know who your redeemer is, there's key redeemer, um, you know, it keeps you able, it keeps you positioned and keeps you on 2 feet. You know what I mean?
So he kept you during all of this time, even though your
Girl,
faith was a little weak. It
it
never, it
was, but
never, it never went away.
my faith never went away. It never wavered. Um, I would get sad, and there's a difference between asking God questions and questioning God. I had a bunch of questions, like Habakkuk. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that prophet's name correctly. He questioned God, and God answered him. And so I question God, God answers me. You know what I mean? And I had to go through what I went through to be where I am today, so that I can get to where I'm supposed to be later. You know what I mean? Everything is a process, including our current administration. Everything is ordained. If you know God, then there's peace in that. And it's not a peace that a pill can give you, not to, because I take medications for my mental health now. I ain't going to,
Right. Let
okay?
me ask you this question real quick. Is it ever a time when you wanted to give up and say, I don't want to be here? I just can't do this. I don't want to be here. Like,
No. Now, I felt like there's been a terrible low for me. There's been terrible, terrible lows for me. But considering um, what would happen if I did it myself, there's a huge fear of that. You know what I mean? One, not just a fear, but a reverence for God Himself. Like I'm going through it, it hurts like crazy, but I don't want to end it and then mess up my opportunity to finally see him face to face, or for him to see my face and say, "Depart from me." I would rather hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." You know what I mean? I don't want, and I've known that my entire life. Like, I have a terrible memory, but that part I do know. I didn't want to do anything that would mess up my opportunity to see the people that I lost. There's absolutely not. I want to get there, and it's a struggle every single day here and now. But that's what's good about God, is that He's so faithful and forgiving and sovereign. You know what I mean? But I don't want to mess up anything that's going to stop me from seeing my son again.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the most surprising part of your healing process? What was the moment that you were surprised, like, oh, I made it, I'm making it another day? Because I know every day is one day at a time. What was that moment that you realized I can keep going. I can keep making it?
Okay.
Because at one time you shut off from the world. You shut off completely. You
I
shut
still
down.
do.
Yes.
I still
Yes.
I still do. I still do. And you know what? There's peace in that. And, not that I needed the validation from my mental health provider to be able to shut down, but it's been validated that you need those moments to shut down, walk away from the world, because you don't owe the
Yes.
world nothing, so, which is what I do now. There's a way that you do it. Initially, I didn't do it properly. I was horrible. I was a terror, because I was hurting. My heart was ripped out. And for me, as bad as much as I can say, it's wrong for you to treat people bad, it's wrong for you to be such as, I lost a kid,
Yeah.
there's no way I'm going to be in my right mind, and
Not just that, you lost a lot. I want
the people that I grew up in the house with are no longer here.
Are no longer there. That's correct.
So I can't. I can go home and see family, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
go back to my mom and my dad's house, and me and Kiana and all of us sit in that same living
Mm-hmm.
room. We can't. There's
You
no
can't
one
get that
there.
back.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as much as if a person could take a moment and think about the thing that they love the most, I don't care if it's a person or if it's a food or if it's a drug, something that you just absolutely desire with all your heart, you have got to have it. And then somebody takes it from you and says, you can't have this, not just today, but ever, because it does not exist. It's not even here for you anymore. Like, you can't have whatever it is that you desire the most. Like, I'll just say, for the sake, chocolate cake. I love me some chocolate cake. It is crazy how much I love chocolate cake. If someone ripped it off the face of the earth with the administration that we have right now, who knows? It might get those. But the chocolate cake is gone.
It's gone.
Right?
Forever.
And I want it so badly. Like, what do you mean it's gone?
And for
that's
those
just one person.
Right. And for those who are around you, for me, it's like, well, I want to give her another piece of cake. I know she likes chocolate, but if I just fill in that piece of cake, that maybe I'll give her some strawberry, and she'll be okay with that. I say that because there was a time where, and I know other people out there who want to be there for their friend or sister or whatever. They want to be there. You try to, and I will say that my thing was, I didn't have the understanding, because this was my ride to die. I mean, we would be in Germany with maybe a whole $1, and we wanted to
stretch that thing,
and we would try to, like, how much you got, like pennies, so it was like, you move, I move. So when all of this happened, especially with Ed, the mistake that I made was, I'm going to be there for my sister. I'm going to carry all her pain. I'm just going to be there, and what it was, honestly, is overwhelming. And what I've learned is, you cannot walk in somebody else's shoes as well as nobody can walk in yours. You don't know what that person going through. And at that moment, I was like, I know what she's going through. She lost it, but I really didn't. I didn't understand that this was a human that you brought into this world. And I would think, because as you said, you broke off. We had some real anger. I was angry. Like, why won't she let me be there? So God has taught me a lot too. He's taught me about a lot. Number one, I'm not him. I am not him. He saves all. And so it was kind of like, to watch you go through all of this. All I knew is that I wanted to save that person from hurting who was hurting. And sometimes, you got to watch when people in your situation, like you, sometimes we have to watch, because I watched a lot of things, and I know the biggest thing that got you was somebody asked, how's Manny doing? Like, how do you think she's doing? Like, there isn't even a word. There is no word. And then, I remember that people would aggravate you, even just asking like stupid questions, like, to people who are grieving in that moment. The worst thing you could do is go, how are you doing?
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah, how's it going? Like, and then one thing I know about grieving it is it's in its own timing. You
Yeah.
never want to rush anybody who's grieving or say, "Oh, it's been 5 years. She's still grieving." Like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. We're talking about, what do you mean still grieving after she raised 18 years?
Right. Right.
Or
Yeah.
she was a daughter for how, I don't want to put your age out there because you're kind of old, but
49 and fine.
okay, that's fine. Okay. But it's hard. And then your mother, then your sister. And I always
There they
remember
go.
us. There he is, sitting up
Yeah.
there.
Mommy and Kiana.
Mommy and Kiana together. It's just it's a hard thing to see somebody you love go through all of that, and there's nothing you could do. So I think that we both learned some real valuable lessons. And through all of this, I am still, the number one thing, and I tell you this all the time, I am amazed at how your faith was just like, dang, I ain't never hear her once say, "God, why'd you do this?" And God, and then just say, "I'm not going to church. I'm not praying." I was amazed. I was amazed.
Yeah. It's not, and it's no one, I can't, no matter how often I say often because I often do, try to find someone to blame. And forgiveness is a thing. It's hard work, but you must do it for yourself.
So that was my question. What role did the community or therapy or spirituality play in your breaking through? Because you're not broken through, you're still breaking through. I know it's still
it's a healing it's a healing process.
It's a journey.
I'm not healed by any means.
So what role is something playing to help you through your journey each and every day?
So as far as mental health providers go, I had three. I have two mental health providers now, but I've had more than one mental health provider for years, since 2012. So when my dad got sick, when I found out about my dad being sick, not losing him, but that I needed mental health for that. And people tend to, mental health, especially in our community, has a stigma. If you're going to the doctor for anything other than the sugar, you're weak. You're weak. But first of all, I don't care what other people have to say or think or do. I'm so concerned about my mental health that I won't even take anything for physical pain, because what would I rather have, my mind or the issues with my body? Because my back hurts. I have a back injury. It hurts. But more than anything, if my mind is off, that hurts. You know what I'm saying? It don't only hurt me, it hurt my loved ones too. If my mind is not right. So what's the most important thing to me is my mental health. And so my faith in the church that I have been, two churches that I've been going to have been supportive. It's been really good, but you can't put your faith in a person or a being or in a brick and mortar. So while I absolutely love going to church, and I do believe that is exactly what God wants you to have, is community, because it's in his word that you have community with his people. They're not perfect people. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not at all a perfect person.
No one is perfect.
Right. But I serve a perfect God. Perfect God. And so for those who don't serve a perfect God, and it got to be Jesus Christ as far as I'm concerned, and for those who don't serve a perfect God, you're struggling on your own. You know what I mean? Some people don't want to have to believe in a higher power, but when you consider it all, who did all of this?
Who did it all?
Who did it? You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't
and why?
And yes, exactly.
And why? And so this man died for me on a cross, and I didn't ask for any of it. He just did it. And so all the things that I've done in my life have already been paid for. All the sins that I've done in the past, all the sins I'm going to do tomorrow, Lord willing, and anything else after that, he bore that sacrifice for me so that I don't have to. He took my son back. And I say he took my son back because I get to see my son again. If I didn't keep that kind of faith, if I didn't have that frame of mind on being able to see my parents or see my sister or my son, I might as well work in the administration.
Just jump out there. Join the
politics. Right. Might as well. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
Extremist. But
so, would you say you found a purpose through going through your trauma? And did your going through this trauma, would you say it helped you find your purpose?
I'm going to say that as much as I am a believer in Christ, I'm going to say I've yet to identify what my exact purpose is. What I do love is to see people do well. I like to see people succeed. I want to know where I can help. I'm a gifter. I love giving a gift. Love it. That's my ministry right there, is giving a gift.
Mhm.
And caring and supporting people and all that. I love doing all those things. But is that the God-given purpose that I have? I still don't know that, and I pray about it. I ask for discernment and wisdom, and he'll give it so generously without fault, according to his word. But I still, you know, I'm still trying to figure out what's happening within me, because I don't remember who I was before my loss. And
Mhm.
then, so while I'm trying to figure those things out for myself, or keep my mind open so that I can receive what it is God's trying to give to me, because I don't want to repeat these lessons. Um, I don't know yet. I don't know what he's laid out for me, but I do know he knows the plans that he has for my life, plans to prosper me according to his word. That's in Jeremiah.
Right. And look, because it's, and that's what I try to tell people, like, maybe they don't believe in God or whatever. And I'm not a Bible beater. I don't get out there. Okay, wherever I meet you where you stand. And what
Mhm.
I tell, young women or people who, when they say, because you can't always go in and Bible beat people. God said, and God,
Mhm.
at that point in time, no one wants to hear that.
Right.
No one wants,
Right.
I need right now, unless he's going to come down in the flesh right now and help me. And I can see him saying that this
Mhm.
is what I need you to do so I can feel better. That's not going to happen. So what I say to my audience, what I say to young women, young men, whoever, is hold on. Hold on.
True.
That is
True.
that is the only word that I can say when I hear young women crying about how they're struggling with their children, how they're struggling with drugs, and they want to get out, they want a better life. There's so many people that I talk to, and what I've learned is, and I don't claim to be a professor or a PhD, MD, whatever. I'm just great, and I speak from knowledge, and so much I have seen in my life. I just say, just hold on for me, because
Mhm.
I know, and what God is capable of doing if you just trust in Him.
Mhm.
But at that, but you
Yeah.
can't, I be wanting to say, oh my God, oh, let me tell you where he brought me from. They like, well, that's all fine today. You remember, I used to be out there, in them streets, and I was always looking for somebody to love me.
Mhm. Yeah.
I want, these kids. I'm a single parent. I'm doing all this by myself. God, please give me a good fan. And then you remember, I've talked about you before. I went to a hotel room to just take a break, get away from my children, took my Bible with me, and what? Like you said, you have to monitor your mind, because if you don't monitor and control your mind, what happens? You go to the hotel room thinking you're going to read the Bible, then you just think to yourself, like, I'm sick of this shit. I got to go, and now I'm committing
Mhm.
suicide. Now I'm calling you, okay, sister, look, I take care of my kids. And you're like, what? Where you going? Where you at? And the whole time, I'm like, I'm just going to take all these pills right here, and she's going to get there in time, not knowing that while I'm on the phone, you're already en route. Like, how you got there, how you knew where I was at, I have no clue. I think my
That's how I was trying
kids.
to figure out how you made it I was trying to figure out how you made it to Jefferson Street on New Year's Eve. I was like, and we travel in our pajamas.
Oh my goodness. In that time, you don't realize nothing, but because your mind is just everywhere.
Yeah.
So it just comes a time where you just have to sit back and just still
Mhm.
just be quiet. So
Mhm.
let me ask you, for our viewers who are out there, and somebody may be going through the same thing, similar to the same thing, what would you like to tell that person or persons who are going through something similar or the same thing? What would you
Mhm.
what piece of advice could you give?
Um, that one, you're not by yourself. The trauma that you face is the trauma that you face. And there are so many other people who have gone through worse. Yeah, and it's hard to think about that because you're like, this is my situation. This is my such and such. This is my this or that. There you have to hold on to something. There has to be some level of faith. There has to be a reason that you want to continue to breathe. There has to be a reason that you want to continue to push through. God gave me a grandkid, a granddaughter from a daughter who said she ain't want to deal with no children. And so I am so grateful for that, because she is literally equal parts my son, equal parts my daughter. And I didn't even know, God knew. I didn't know I needed
I
it.
know, yeah.
God knew, and when I tell you, I love every single thing about this kid. I express heavily more love towards my daughter. She drives me up the wall, but whose kids don't? But it's like,
Amen.
it's it's a, my heart being broken so many times made me very sensitive to how I love, you know. And people that are being challenged with grief or trauma of any kind, just keep in mind one thing: it's yours. It's yours to heal. It's yours to wallow in. It's yours. Can't nobody tell you about the stuff that you're going through except the God who created you, and that is it. You don't owe anything to anybody except for you to get yourself better. You know, and that's huge. That's important. What is it that's important to you? What do you hold so dear to you that you want to live for? And really give it some consideration. You can't just say, I lost so and so and I'm crushed, I'm hurt over it, or I've been in this horrible situation and I'm crushed and I'm just so over it and I don't want to have anything to. All the people in your circle, all the people in your life that love you and want to love you through that pain, you're just going to disconnect. I'm not making it about other people, but you're disconnecting yourself from those who love you so much. It's hard to see when you're in the middle of it, but if you take a couple of steps back from it and kind of get a little bit of a helicopter view of what other people are looking at, it helps you. It helps. Because I am, not I was, I am a little dynamite, just a smidge of a dynamite.
Yeah.
But just like everybody else, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm not my situation. And nothing. I ain't nothing different about me. The only thing that I know about myself is I know about the God that I serve, and that for me is my foundation. I start there, and then I build off of that. Now I'm a mess, but I'm God's mess. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right. That's
I'm
right.
God's mess. I'm good with that.
That's right. That's
Everybody
right.
don't gotta like it. Everybody don't
That's
like
right.
mayonnaise.
That's
Everybody don't
right.
like mustard. Everybody don't got to like Manny.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does not have to.
Mm-hmm. Everybody does not. You're like,
I
that's
had
right.
to learn. That's right. I had to learn that everybody is not going to like me. Everybody
Right.
is not going to. I was always trying to be a people pleaser. I
And
was
they're
always
lost
that
too. When you think
friend,
about it, they're
or
lost.
yeah, that friend or that sister who wanted to make everybody feel good, everybody happy, and everybody, you know who I am. But so what's next for you, Miss Manny? What's next?
Well, what's next? I started this little thing for myself in my own vehicle, and I want to make that a bigger thing. I do, because people end up in bad situations, mistakes happen, and then you're on the street holding up a sign someplace, and people
Yeah.
are either looking at you like that's a scam, or why did you get in a situation like this? We got so many unhoused people, so
Yeah.
many unhoused people. And the small thing that I started doing in my car, I made packets and I took them to work and gave them to people that I work with too. So it's like it's already been built. It's just sitting in your car. So next time you see someone, hand them a love packet, that says you can put anything in there from hygiene items, snacks. I put puzzles in this last one, water, you know what I mean? A scripture, something that reminds them that they are human, that people still love them, that they're cared for,
Mhm.
something that can motivate them to go to wherever it is they need to go to get them out of the situation that they're in. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So what's next? I like to build on that, being able to give to the unhoused.
All right. All right.
Yep.
Well, Miss Manny, my sister, look, I love you so much. Look, there's not even a word I can describe. We always make up our little silly little words. I'm not going to do it here. But I am just so very happy that God has kept you and just has changed you. Uh, and one thing that I want people to know too, that I will say, who has a person who's grieving, stop looking for the person they used to be. When you suffer that much grief or that much loss or so much trauma in your life, and somebody is building to be a better them, they are no longer the person they used to be. Let's accept who they are and who they're becoming. So I am so happy to see your journey, to still see your faith, to see just that much of a smile on your face is
Mhm.
all. When you talk about God and God is spirit and God is within us. That's what I see when I look at you. I see God is walking with that woman right there. So I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on B3u and being so transparent, sharing your story, because not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. But just from you opening up, sharing your story, and all the things that people may have said, unless they walk in your shoes, everybody doesn't have to like you. You don't care. You just doing you and trying to do good by God's people. So I applaud you. God bless you. Thank you all for tuning in and listening to B3u with Miss Manny Rodriguez, another one of my sisters in arms. And I
Yeah,
love
I
you
love
so
you. You're doing
much.
so many wonderful things. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good.